What's up, social media family? It's Chris, your favorite coach. Today, I'm your favorite host. Again, we like to bring these conversations with Chris when I meet people that have got a story worth telling, things to share. And today, we're in for a treat because we've got not one, but two people. We've got Jess and Rich. These are two people coming into the real estate industry from very different paths, but solve the same problem from opposite sides, right? So Jess brings clarity when decisions feel overwhelming. Rich brings reality when land and numbers get romanticized, right? So it's a new partnership. We're going to unpack it, how it started, what each of them actually does best, and why they work so well in the real world and not just on paper. So, yay!
Thank you, Chris.
We can't hear all the people clapping, but
glad to be here.
They are.
It's good for you guys to be here. And thanks. I know it's like I would spring this on people, and then people are like, what questions are you going to be asking and stuff like that. But I assure you, magic happens in the moment, in the spontaneous, right? So let me ask you guys. You guys are you're newly teaming up, and what problem were you both seeing that made this partnership make sense? I mean, they say a partnership is the hardest ship to sail. So, what problem were you seeing that made it make sense right now?
That's great. You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Honestly, I think, our profession in general in real estate, it doesn't always get the best reputation. And Rich and I can see the issue, client side, what the consumer is facing day to day. And we really want to make sure that this is a positive experience for people. We see, room for improvement for different things. And we also see that every transaction, well, shouldn't be a transaction, but should be very different. So I think, bringing that authenticity for who that person is, the process should be different every time because it's about them and where they're going to live and their experience. So we just want to bring more of that personalization to the transaction and clean up some of the issues that sometimes people have.
So, yeah, it's a funny business. It's definitely a funny business. Yeah. So, Rich, from your perspective?
Yeah, I don't know if we had a problem to solve necessarily, but I think in the course of when you do business, you interact with people who you resonate with more than others. And Jess and I have known each other for about 4 years now, and we have different personalities, but they're complementary in a lot of ways. And so I think along the way, we realized we do want the experience of the end user, right, the customer, the client, to be at a high level, but we also do it differently. So the way I get them to have a service at a high level is different than the way she does it. And finally, we were like, why don't we just kind of combine forces, and then they're going to get the best of both of those worlds. Somewhat, I'm maybe the bit more of the analytical, a bit more of the systems or the pros, cons, break it down kind of guy. And she's more of I'm going to care about you and care about your emotions through this process. They both kind of get the job done. We do it different ways. And we decided to kind of combine those forces and see what we can do.
So he's the smart and I'm the heart.
Oh, that's interesting, right? The smart and the heart. I like it. So it's not even that you're solving a problem. Sometimes it's just more fun and not, we all don't succeed alone, and just being able to have people I work with. So it's pretty clear what you guys are bringing to the table, right? So like in a world full of real estate agents, teams, and trusted advisors, what category do you guys not fall into?
That's a good question. I not fall into. We are a team. So that's one. And I do like to think of myself as a trusted advisor. So maybe just the pure agent stand. What was the other one? The agent side?
Yeah, it's just it's like a crowd. It's a crowded world out there. So you could, you guys talked about before what the general public thinks about real estate agents and that kind of perception. So, what are those categories that you don't fall into?
I mean, I think my initial just gut reaction would be that, again, it's not transactional. Some people get into it because they really do treat it like a business. And I think it is a business for sure. And you need to treat it that way. But that's not the only thing. People are business. It's not like just numbers and commissions and things like that. So I think if there's agents out there that just focus on that, fine. That's how they do business. And they probably run into clients that are also transactional. They're just selling a house, they're investors, or they just get it on that level. But for the most part, I think the person that may have questions or may be nervous or might need somebody to kind of lead them a little bit more, as Rich calls me, the Care Bear. So uh, I think that is what we are. But for me personally, I'm not going to be transactional. I'm not going to just slam you into a house and then collect my check. I'm like, no, if this is not the house, we keep looking. I don't care how many houses you have to see.
So like, if someone had three options on the table to hire real estate advisors or a team or see anybody or any schlep with a license, why would choosing you two together, your team, change that outcome?
Well, I think they're gonna. I mean, the stats bear out that most people don't actually do that much choosing. Really, it's
Just
I
being
mean, it is like one of the secrets of real estate is showing up. You have to get yourself into that moment to be present, and then you prove your value by just being, a rational, reasonable, motivated person that wants to do the service. It sounds like such a low bar, and unfortunately, it kind of is. I almost wish people did a little bit more research, right? We constantly talk about how, ooh, did you see that listing or whatever? And it's kind of like, at least in our area. So it's a kind of like, boy, I wish you'd talked to me, or I wish you'd seen what we could do for you, because I feel like our, our offering is a little bit different. So, but if they do, but when we are in front of people, I think honestly, just you be yourself, right? That's the only thing you can ever do. And the intent to do the right kind of service, the intent to showcase the best parts of that property, or to be the best service provider we could be. I think people pick up on that pretty quickly, and they can see through, if you're thinking, net profit, they can see to that pretty quickly in general.
Commission breath.
Yeah, it's awful. Well, also our combined experience. So I think I'm not really that great at math, but I've been doing it about 15 years. Rich has been doing it about 7 years. And again, from very different markets, very different backgrounds, very different experiences. It's like 20 something years, of experience and life before that. I think we both had other lives before real estate, extensive lives, different jobs, I mean, you should hear about Rich's background. It's totally nuts how many different things he's gotten himself into. So I think you just get so much experience. I think not only real estate experience, but life experience, because again, it's people that we're dealing with. So sure, we have to know the market, but we have to know how to listen to the individual as well. So that's where you get the smart and the heart. Again, why would you hire us? Because you actually have a lot of bases covered at that point, and you're going to get a professional job.
Yeah, that's right. What are some of the things you do for your clients that they didn't know they needed, right? So I think, and people don't know what they need sometimes, and that's why it doesn't matter to who you hire, because in the absence of value or what you know you're getting, I'm going to go with the person that's the cheapest if I'm a seller, or if I'm a buyer, I'm just going to, look for a house that I want and deal with the agent that picks up the phone. It's not so important who they choose. I think it's those little nuances. And I'm just curious, what are some things you guys do that you've done for clients, that things that didn't know that they needed, that really set you apart?
Oh my God. I hate to say, I ask a lot of questions. I'm very honest. So I think you have to be willing to give people the truth.
Yeah.
They don't know that they need the truth. They want to hear what they want to hear. Like, they want to hear that their house is worth what they think it's worth. But you have to be able to really give them the truth. But that only comes after you earn that by being very inquisitive and curious about who they are and their journey. They don't know that we kind of really need to know what the full picture is. So I work very hard on learning the whole human, the whole dynamic, the whole family, the whole goal. What are they doing in 5-10 years? Because their house, their purchase, their sale is actually going to impact that, whether or not they know that. So I'm going to be very nosy, and I do need to know as much as possible to be able to really help them and guide them.
Asking questions, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I think you also have to learn to read the people you're dealing with. So some clients will be very, detail oriented. They'll want to know your whole process, A to Z. They'll want you to break it down. They'll want the big listing, brochure and everything, and want to know all the steps. And some are just, I have a job that I want done, and can you please do it right now and stop asking me questions and just do the thing. And I think the reality is probably somewhere in the middle where, we need to navigate, here's what you need to know to move forward without getting bogged down in some details. But also you do need to know a few things, right? This isn't just, hey, take this and run with it. I need you to be kind of involved in this. It's a journey together with the client. It isn't just agent takes a thing and does the thing. The owner or the buyer has to be invested in what they're doing to some extent.
Yeah. It's so really the things that you're doing is, kind of drawing it out of them, guiding them, through the process that they didn't even know that they needed to uncover. Yeah. Everybody knows everything, right? So, when somebody's done working with you and you guys have a successful transaction, what are some of the things that the client feels? What do you want them to feel, or how do they feel?
Success. You want them to feel, like I come from that coaching background. I come from objectives and satisfying things. So I want them to feel successful, right? Jess's answer will probably be a little different, but I want them to feel like they achieved that thing they wanted to achieve. And whether that was getting themselves into a house, whether it was selling a property, I want them to feel like that was a success. Now, whether it was where grades on that success, that might change from person to person, but I want them to feel like at the end of the day, the job was done and they got to where they wanted to go.
That's awesome.
And I want to have a lifelong friend. No. Actually, doing business as long as I have, you ask people for reviews.
Sure.
And my reviews have always been, hey, I feel like I had a friend with me. Hey, I felt like I gained a friend. Hey, I felt like, and I started seeing the word friend. And my very first review actually up here, my first closing I just had back in production in upstate New York. The last line is like, I felt like, I had a partner, but then she became a friend. And I was like, wow, there it is again. So I really do put a lot of my own kind of personal care into them. And I really connect with them on a deep level. So I want them to feel really cared for. And I want them to know they can call me in a day, in a week, in a month, in a year. I want them to stay in touch. I want to know how they're doing. I want to know if they did the renovation. I want to know what's happening. And I want to continue to be a resource because I really do connect and care. So I want them to be my besties after.
For the record, I do care, and I
didn't say you didn't.
I do make friends along the way. I'm not a robot, but
it's in addition to everything we said. We both agree. And
yeah, so you want them to feel like they worked with somebody that was a friend, and that says a lot. And then you want them to feel successful in that also.
So I need both of us.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Isn't that great? And so, like, what are you guys clear? You operate a little bit differently, but you've got some very similar principles. And what principle do you refuse to compromise on, even when it costs you a deal?
Mm-hmm.
That's a great question. I think that's one of the things that we do gravitate towards each other. I mean, not to sound all like top notch, but I really feel like our integrity is kind of unbeatable. I mean, I won't even approach anything that I don't think is above board, whether it's a strategy, whether it's a manner of operating, whether it's documentation. I feel like if it isn't right in the eyes of ethics or law or whatever, it doesn't resonate with me, and I don't want to touch it, frankly.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And that transparency again, which is part of that, and always being honest, even if it means you're not going to close the deal, even if it means, this deal comes apart, or whether or not they ever even buy anything. Sometimes it's not right for them to do a real estate transaction. Fine. It all is done with integrity.
Yeah. It's, we have that. I remember that old school real estate training. It's like, it's always a good time to buy or sell real estate. I just hear these antiquated trainers in my head. They go around and wear your name tag everywhere when someone asks you, how's the market?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's not always a good time. And I do appreciate that. Well, I mean, on that subject, like who's not a great customer or client for you guys? Who should not call you or seek you out?
I think for me, as much as I'm a care bear too, like I'll talk you out of it if it's not the right time for sure. But someone that's really not ready. I think if you're really ready and you've committed to, okay, I know I have to buy this, or I know I have to sell this. I definitely want to work with people that are ready, only because, especially with our amount of experience, we're such a well-oiled machine. We go. As soon as you say go, we go. There's a process and we go. So if then through that process, you want to stop and go, hey, I'm not sure about that. Be sure, be committed to it, because we're going to commit to you and we're going to go in 1,000% from day one. So I think just be ready, and it's okay to discover things along the way, but know that you're ready. And you might not know exactly what you want, but know that you want to actually execute a deal and then we're on.
Yeah. And for me,
So one thing.
I like that answer. For me, it's trust.
Did you say you don't like that answer?
Honestly, I do like that answer a lot. I like your answer tremendously.
Yeah, someone who's ready.
Yeah.
Someone that's ready to
that they're sure.
do the thing. Mm-hmm. I need you to trust me. I need my client to trust that I am looking out for them, and then I'm probably doing a lot in the background they might not know about, but I am operating with their best intent, or their best interests is my intent. I do struggle, honestly, with people that are always like questioning me or like, questioning my motives, or just my experience or my ability to do the thing they need to do. I'm like, look, I got this. Trust me, I got this, and we'll get through it. But yeah, I struggle with people that are second guessers of me.
Yeah, that's a rough thing. Especially when you're so trustworthy, and because it's like, because people that are trustworthy tend to be trusting as well. And then so when it comes back, it's like, did I do something that's making you, doubt, where I'm at and everything? I mean, look, on that topic, real estate it's loud. Right. There's opinions, advice, and trends everywhere. It's like, so what are some of the things that you guys help people ignore so they can make better decisions in their real estate world with all that's out there?
Well, our market specifically, we can go local on this one. Our market is, a 3-hour drive from New York City. So we do tend to have a fair number of second home owners. So it's a classic conversation that we have all the time is, my neighbor, they're it's a real estate, commonality, but markets are local, right? So what happens 3 hours away, price points, processes, negotiation tactics, they're different. Regional differences exist, and that's fine in real estate, but it's hard to have that conversation with someone whose norms are very different, although they're 3-hour drive away, and then they come up here and they're like, ooh, this doesn't seem like it's going right. And I'm like, no, this is actually going great. This one's going really well, just doesn't feel right because you're not used to it.
That's a crazy thing, right? How do you balance what a property can be like for somebody with what someone's life can realistically support, So it's like, that delicate balance between, reality and optimism.
These are great questions, Chris.
I'm sorry.
I think
great.
Yeah, I think that part of that is getting to know the people and what they're, like Jess said earlier, her, thinking about a few years down the line, not necessarily what is life right now, but what does life maybe look like in a couple of years, or if a couple things, change for better or worse. For example, again, maybe this is timely. I don't know if this is nationwide, but we are seeing utility bills in our area increase tremendously this year, particularly. Electricity costs are skyrocketing. I don't want to touch a hot topic, but that's now becoming, honestly, it's a budget factor. If you're an agent in my area, you probably should be asking for the 12-month utility bill for a property you're moving into. And it might not have been a question you asked 2 years ago, but it's on my ask list right now, because I want to know what my clients are getting themselves into if they're buying a house and the electric is going to cost twice as much as they were going to budget, So those are things that I think matter.
Yeah, those are great. I mean, that's like, and this is something that everybody wants to know. Like, so even if somebody doesn't have a real estate need right now, if they're not looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, that might be good information. And I was just, what ways are you guys adding value to the people in your world in between transactions? So you've got the people that aren't ready yet, the people that they don't have an immediate need. They're floating around your database, they're past clients, your sphere of influence, all that stuff. How are you adding value to them in between transactions?
So it's interesting. Is even if someone's not buying or selling, they do still want to know the value of their home.
Sure.
They do. Like I'm not in the market, but I want to know how much my house is worth today. I want to know what the market's doing. Are we an upward or downward trend? And I think that's enough information that most people can digest. Like, is it a good market or a bad market? And I know that's too general, but that's what they ask you and that's what they want to know. And people check in with me all the time that I know are not doing business this year, next year, maybe even in 5 years. People still want to know that their investment or that their home is on the rise. So I think being in touch with people in that way and letting people know. I actually had I had a client, Sonia, a long time ago, and she said, "Call me when my house is worth $1 million." And this was in Brooklyn at the time. And when I started, houses were not yet $1 million in certain parts of Brooklyn.
Sure.
But in her part of Brooklyn, it was like 600,000, 800,000. And then one day I called Sonia and I said, "Your house is worth $1 million, honey. What do you want to do?" So I think everybody's curious, even if now is not the right time.
Did she
Actually,
sell it?
no, she hasn't sold. No, I'm like, well, now it's worth 3 million. So whatever you want to do.
But at least she knows.
Yeah,
Now
that's what they
she
all say,
should.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, $1 million isn't worth $1 million anymore.
Exactly. You need
Yeah.
more now.
So that's so you guys are keeping people, I mean, you said too great. That's, keeping people informed about the value of their property, letting people, the thing about the utilities going up. This is all relevant.
Yeah. We have and maybe this isn't breaking ground, but we have a newsletter. We not only highlight like our listings, but things going on locally, events happening in the region. And I think that's a fun touch. It's a monthly email newsletter, super basic, but keeps people in the loop. And then Jess and I are getting more into the media space and YouTube type stuff. So that's another way that we hope to be able to keep connected to people in moving forward. It's been one of my weaknesses, I'm not going to lie, is my follow-up and my continued service. Again, I'm not purely transactional, but I probably trend a little bit internally towards that. Just my bandwidth as a human is I have to know what my bandwidth is. So,
well, it's and you might not be that way. It's just so people when you're out of sight, out of mind, people never know what it is. So people might interpret you as transactional because, you're not in touch with them other than when there is a transaction, It's like there's some people that will only call you when they need something. But then there's other people that won't do that, but it'll just happen to do that way. But that's not what they're doing, So
it's one of those things, Chris, like I've been lucky enough to sell a lot of houses in our area and a lot of land in my area over time. And I'm driving around constantly. People don't know that when I'm passing by their house, I'm thinking, oh, those were so awesome. Those people were so awesome. Or I love to see how they've changed the lawn or, whatever it is. But I'm constantly thinking, oh, I loved those people and I loved that process with them. But I don't call them or text them and say that, and that's maybe a shortcoming on my part, but they're in my head.
I know it's all in your head, right?
So now just text them. Text is so easy. You can talk to text, but just proofread it. Please, if there's any advice I could give anyone today, proofread your talk to texts.
That is hilarious. Oh boy, I have had definitely I'm driving.
Whoops.
Big get lost. I know. That's a good thing. Proofread it. So let me ask you guys, if we talk to somebody that worked with you guys, and they were describing your work without using the words real estate, what would they say you actually do without using the words real estate?
I got it. Problem solver.
Okay.
That's what I am. I'm the problem solver.
Right. Yeah. Sean Rawls once said, the more problems I have, the more bigger my bank account gets. The more problems I'm able to solve. Do you know him with his Southern Georgia accent? Yeah.
I love that though. I mean, because that's on a real estate transaction, right? Because you have the transaction and you have the human. The human is going to run into issues with the transaction all the time. And they're going to ask me, well, what about this, Jess? Or what do we do about that? Or what? And I try to solve ahead of time and then report back like, hey, so this came up and here's what I did. So here's where we are now, where now you don't have to worry. So it's kind of like they never had to worry. They never had to worry about bad news. And I never give bad news without having good news with it or a solution with it. So I would say problem solver is, as things come up, I chew it up and spit it out and we keep moving.
So they would say you solve problems. Rich, what do you think?
I really like that answer too, Jess. You're knocking it out of the park. I would probably do that too, but I want to say like thorough. I don't know if I have a best way to put it in as a phrase, but I think that's one of the things that I excel at. Is just I think maybe not thorough is the wrong word, but maybe along the lines of what Jess was saying, being proactive in kind of knowing where this might get derailed a bit. And even if you're just having a conversation that's like, hey, just looking down the line a little bit, this might come up, or this might be a thing, or for some people, this is going to be an issue. For some, it might not. But, I think that the more you can prime the client for what to expect, then when that news does hit, it's much more palatable. And then you've already kind of planted the seed of here's how we'll pivot, or here's how we'll handle that. But that's, again, she's calling it problem solving. I'm calling it thorough, meaning, hey, I already have the map on how this whole thing's going to go. We might have a detour, but I already know how to get back there on the detour. So
you're a tour guide.
Tour guide. Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is Jess is saying, hey, when a problem pops up, we're really good at solving them. And what you're saying, Rich, is I keep track of all those problems and try to be proactive to tell people what's going to come up and what could happen and what might happen. Right. So it's that's a two-bladed sword.
That's right.
Very good. Well, what is tell me about what's it look like? So that's right now what people are saying about you. So if we fast forward 5 years from now, that's always fun, right? Someone works with the both of you. What do you want them to say was different about the experience of working with you guys 5 years from now? You could design it from nothing. Here it is.
Cool. I'll go on this one first.
Yeah, go.
I want them to say, here's in 5 years, I want them to say, oh, I see those guys everywhere, and they're just so nice in person, right? They're different. They're not different maybe, but they're just as personable as you could ever hope. But gosh, I see their signs and their name and their brand all over the place. And I knew I wanted to work with them, but I didn't know it could be quite as fun as that, or quite as, valuable as that. That's what I'd like to have happen.
I love that. And I want them to say, not only can we help them buy or sell, but they can hire us to literally find land and build a house for them and create that sort of brand that Rich and I are trying to get together. Land and Living is sort of the real estate business he's been running. We want to start doing a Living You podcast that's all about living really authentically who they are. And doubling down on that is come to us and just tell us what you want, and we'll find the land, which Rich is amazing at, like property acquisition. That's like, we've been, trying to find our roles. He's acquisition. Just go and you tell us what land is going to work. Then we go and we kind of pick the builder. We customize a house for them and oversee the whole thing, get it done and help them decorate it. And then they just buy it. They just move in. So to be able to put up like kind of little custom communities, that's what I want them to, that's what in 5 years would be amazing. That sounds fast, but I'll take it. That they can just go, hey, we want a house somewhere in upstate New York, go. And here's what we want. And here's what our view to be, or what we need to be near, whatever. And we can actually execute and give them a physical space to then live who they are.
I love that. You can get the space for the people to be fully self-expressed and live who they are.
That's right. Yep. You can paint it any color you want.
I didn't want to glance over this here. You did mention a podcast. Tell us about the vision for this podcast that you're putting together and that you're inevitably going to launch pretty soon.
I think just generally speaking, again, we see a lot of gaps again in the industry, and connecting the pieces of real estate as a business, as a profession, as a transaction, connecting that then down again to people and their actual experience and what they could expect and, how it's going to land on them. I think the podcast does a couple things. It can inform them on the local market news, stuff like that. We even talked about national news, numbers, statistics, is property up and down, and also talk about different things at the moment people are facing in the transaction, even all the way down to client experience, and the things we experience in terms of what we see day to day in our businesses, like, hey, this just happened. The story I always want to tell is the keyless entry code. Like, sellers sometimes have keyless entries, and a lot of agents just give the code out, even though like their family sleeps there. And it's like, I don't want anyone to have that code but me and the family. So guess what? I'm going to show up and I'm going to do those showings. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the human element, and again, how they live and what's relevant to them in the real estate space. And then again, all the way up to national news. So, and then all the way down, into that little micro experience. I think that's too big of an answer, but Rich will clean it up.
No, the whole thing spawned from Jess and I started teaching a class for the agents in our brokerage, and it was mostly market data driven. But what we found was that over time, the fun of that class was our little tangents, our little sidebars, our little conversations about, oh, this happened the other day, or did you see this thing? And then we realized there's a little bit of magic there, and we just wanted to kind of continue that trend. And turns out we do have a lot to say, and we have, I think, also one of our strengths is that we're not extreme on either end of the thought process on anything, but I also think we're able to see how someone could see something on the extremes. So I'm kind of a middle spectrum person, if you want to put it that way, but I can see where you might think this. I can see where you might think this. There's pros and cons to probably all of that stuff, but I don't know. I feel like there's a space for dialogue in this. I think there's a lot of misperception on what real estate should look like, what it could look like, and what it does look like. And I think that there's conversations to be had around that. And that's what we want to talk about.
That's cool. I like it. And who's going to be, who's your ideal listener? Who do you think this is going to be for?
I think anyone that lives in a house, because at some point you're going to move. So anybody moving is like what? Most of the population needs to hear, the different things that could happen and the different things that do happen every day. So they have a better grip on what to expect so that they're not disappointed or, they don't feel let down or misled. Like there's a lot of, false information out there about a lot of things, but specifically our industry. So I think anybody that is just sort of curious about the real estate process, it could even be for other agents, because I think a lot of our stuff is going to be, covering market data or news or whatever, but kind of like do's and don'ts, what we feel, it's all our opinion, of course, but hey, don't do that when you have a transaction, or here's something you definitely need to do if you're servicing a client. So, it could be for agents as well, but we definitely want to get where the rubber meets the road and talk to anybody in a house.
That's cool. Anybody who lives anywhere. Anyone
who lives anywhere should be listening to us.
Oh, I like it. I like it. Sounds good. What is there anything you want to share with the people out there, that somebody that might be listening that I'm not asking you?
I mean, you've asked so many good things.
Buy a house in upstate New York.
Buy a house in upstate New York. So where is
actually there is central New York or upstate. Again, there's actually a whole linguistics debate over what is upstate, but I'm going to leave that to the side. But as soon as you get a few hours outside of New York City, the land up here is actually quite incredible. Rolling hills, beautiful valleys, like semi-agricultural, semi-forested land, lots of micro towns that are gorgeous and historic in their own way. It's just a great spot, and people hear New York and they tend to think urban, and it isn't. It's the farthest thing from that in some spots. And I'm a lifelong upstater, so maybe that's my hometown coming into play. But I haven't lived where I live my whole life. It's been 15 years here, but this is my favorite spot I've ever landed, and I'm happy to be.
Awesome that you love it,
So I'll double down on that and just say, being from Queens and living downstate my whole life, though my dad did have a house in the Adirondacks, so I wasn't completely green on the country. But being from downstate, I mean, the city, guys, it's crowded, it's filthy. I just got over it. So I think city people may not know that there's a whole other life here that's more affordable, that's more palatable, that's more peaceful. I mean, I always joke around and say I still brought myself along, so it doesn't solve all your issues. You're still going to be your same miserable, dress in black New York City self, but things will be easier. I have no line at the grocery store. BJ's, I'm in and out. Like literally, there's no one in front of me and there's no one behind me on a Saturday. Like just there's no traffic, there's no parking issue. Like no one stole the catalytic converter out of my car in front of my house. No one's going through my garbage can. Oh my God, there's nobody on the subway, like, trying to pick my pockets. Like all of that is gone. The noise, the filth, the overcrowdedness. I mean, the safety. It's all that stuff is just gone. Like there is a better life actually. And even if you buy something that's a weekend house or, a mini vacation home, like invest in real estate, it could be your halfway. When I bought my house, it was a weekend house. And then I got a job opportunity, where my weekend house was. So I grabbed it. And so there's a better life. You don't have to stay there. You can work remote. We'll figure it out.
You don't have to stay there. Well, that's a cool thing. Yeah, live where you want. I mean, it's good to hear from you guys. You guys are working there. You're living there. Sounds like you love it. It's a very cool thing. Anything else I'm not asking you guys that you want to share with the world out there? Just buy upstate. It's great.
I don't know. I don't know anything else to know.
What's something that people looking to hire to work with a realtor, all the experience and knowledge that you bring, what's a question that people looking to hire a realtor or looking to work with somebody to take that next step in home ownership or to list their house, what's something that you would recommend that they ask or look into before working with somebody? I think that's great.
I love that question because we always say like, at least look at the agent's photos, at least look at their reviews, at least call someone that's worked with them or call on a listing they have up currently and see how they handle a phone call and how they handle scheduling a showing. Suss them out. Like be from a buyer perspective. If you're going to sell a house, pose as a buyer and engage that person and just see how they deal with you. Yeah. Yes.
I love it. Rich?
Yeah, I actually agree. I agree with that. I think that this is one of those industries where it's pretty easy to look slick or to present something that sounds really good in some kind, whatever package you're gonna put it into, but it is in the action and in the whether the agent has systems or whether they have the personality. But I think there's a lot of professionals that let people down in this sphere particularly. And I think I do think that, again, maybe that's our little micro market. Maybe this isn't universal, but
no, it is universal.
There's some disappointing performances out there.
People need to know that failure is not an option. Like with us, failure is not an option. Like that's how I would categorize that. Like we are going to get this done come hell or high water. Like what you want is what we want to have happen. There is no failure and there is no disappointment. Sorry, Rich.
Shared goals. You're sharing the goals with your clientele.
Yep.
Anything else? Anything else you beautiful people want to share with the world? Well, not the world, just the people that are going to see this. But before we wrap up and send you guys back, I know you're busy. When could we see that first podcast?
I mean, we record stuff all the time. We just don't put it out. So,
you're one of those.
So if you want to be a fly on the wall, we have great conversations. And we're going to start in the next week or so, actually putting the first couple of things out. I've overpromised, but we're going to do it.
All right. We're looking forward to that. You guys heard it here. So when everyone starts listening to that bad boy and it blows up, you'll remember that you announced it over here. That's right. It was great. Thanks for visiting with me, guys. It was great talking to you.
Well, thanks so much for having us. Yeah,
partnership and buy upstate and contact these two. They're pretty easy to get in touch with. So is there a website or just look for you on social
Oh,
media?
maybe where we are. So we're in Oneonta, kind of central. We're an hour west of Albany, an hour east of Binghamton. Did I get that right? And we service Delaware County, Shenango County, Otsego County, and Schoharie County. If you can't spell any of those, just let us know, because I know it's difficult. But that's really where we're located. So again, 2.5 to about 3.5 hours from the city. That's where we are. So you definitely have to get your map out, but
Right.
it's worth it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good deal.
Branding wise, we're the Land and Living team, and we're website, social media is all out there, and hopefully the Living You podcast is gonna be our thing.
Yeah, let's look for that, guys. Thanks for popping on today, man. It's been a slice of heaven as always, and we'll see you out there in the virtual world.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
My
Take care.
pleasure. Bye, everybody. Bye.